Hello and welcome to another Blender demo. I'm just going to show you something I've recently discovered, which is pretty cool, is just a workflow to get decent looking buildings. Now, the style of buildings will be kind of blocky, and they kind of align to my own interests in brutalism and Art Deco, so the style of buildings will very much be like this. However, it kind of also depends on the modules that you make. So let's get started, shall we? What you have to end up doing is creating little modules like this, seen here in squares. Now I just use a standard plane, and so just for this purpose, I'm just gonna move this over here, and let's reset the origin to the center here. So we do that with the hotkey of Shift S, and I'm gonna navigate to snap cursor to world origin. Okay, so once I have it there, I'm going to do Shift A, Mesh, and add a plane. And I'm just going to add screencast keys here, as you can see down the bottom. And with this, we're just thinking very basic terms, because this, in terms of design too, you don't want anything super noisy that's arrayed all the time like this, because then it's going to be a lot of visual noise. We're going to keep it simple. And for this, I'm just going to Control R to add an edge loop, and let's maybe add 2. And then let's add 2 on the opposite direction. I'm going to scale it up on the x-axis, and let's say that'll be a nice little window here. So I'm going to Control Tab, click on the face, E, extrude it down on the z-axis, and that can be the window. Let's go to the edge here, and I kind of want it to bevel in, because sometimes I don't want the corners to look too straight. So I'm going to click these 2 edges, Control B, and drag it out slightly. Now you can use the scroll wheel to get more edges, but again, I just want to keep this kind of simple. That looks kind of nice. I kind of like these little grooves here too. Okay, maybe we can add like a little indent going upwards as well to really push this in and give it some depth. So I select these 2 faces, E, bring it up, and then I'm going to select this edge and this edge, Control B, and just kind of like create a nice little pattern. Now this is good enough for me, for the purposes that I'm going to show you. And now I already have some materials loaded in, so what I'm going to do is just link these materials to here, so I don't have to like add them all over here. So to do that, I'll click on the object with the materials I want to link, click on this, Control L, and materials. Sorry, it's the other way around. I want this to have linked materials. I keep getting this backwards. I'm going to click this, click on the materials I want to link to, Control L, materials, and now the materials have loaded in. I can tab in and start selecting faces I kind of want to have different materials with. So I'm going to click on the window here, add the glass material. I'm going to maybe click on these like cool little looking diamonds, add the brass material. That's kind of looking kind of neat. I do kind of want maybe a trim on these 2 sides, so I'm just going to assign this material like that. Alright, so we have our window module here. So the cool thing is we need an add-on called Tissue, which is free with Blender. And to enable it, we'll go into File, Edit, Preferences. Sorry, we're going to Edit Preferences, and then we're going to look for Tissue. It's called Mesh Tissue. Just tick that up, and then it'll pop on the window on the side here. I have a lot of add-ons lately. I've been testing some things out to see how it works. So it would be Edit. It'll be an Edit and Tissue Tools, and you'll see something called Tesseling. So now we're going to create a base. And to do that, I'm just going to click off to the side here. Actually, maybe I should just keep it in the center. Keep it consistent. Let's do that. Okay, so let us move it back to world origin and actually just move this off to the side here. And now with this here, we'll just create a cube. And I'm just going to select that, bring this all the way up. And what I did with this one, I kind of rotated it slightly just to give some different edges. So we're going to rotate the top like this. And maybe let's try something a bit different so it's not the same. So I've added 2 edge loops. I'm going to now extrude this out along the normals. So Alt E, extrude along normals, and kind of like the way it looks like popped inwards. So let's have that. Okay, so once that is done, we're going to navigate to the modifier tools, add modifier. We're going to go to remesh, And instead of using voxel, we'll use blocks. And as you can see here, it's created this really cool shape that we can use. Now, there's a lot of features here that I recommend playing with. I mean, you can set the threshold, which I think is better if there's higher amounts. This dictates the octree depth, dictates like how detailed it is, and also shrinks the cube sizes. So if you're doing smaller buildings, it'd be best to have something like this. But if you're doing larger buildings, definitely go a bit higher here. In terms of scale, I think yes, that probably like maps it closer to that. I kind of like it a little less. Let's go here. So again, you just play around with these settings here. This kind of looks neat. Alright, so once that's done, I'll just hit apply all. That's also another add-on. You can just hover over and hit Control A. So now when we tap into this, you can see it's all blocky. Now, the way the tessellate tool works is, I'll just show you a quick demo, where if I add a cube, click on this, click this cube, and hit tessellate, default features are fine. Again, you might want to play around with this if there's something specific you want. And if I hit OK, you can see it's like moved the mesh all around, but it's also doing it on the top and bottom faces. Unless you want sky windows, I want to like separate that. Also, it looks like it maps it all around the cube. So if you want different faces, like you can see here, I have like different faces all around. You have to split the building up a bit. So let's delete this tessellation because we don't need this right now. And let's delete that. So with that knowledge, I'm just going to actually hide. I think this is causing my scene to lag a bit. So let's do this. And let's do this. Alright, that's a bit better. Okay. So we'll have to separate the top and the bottom because we don't want windows on the side here. And that's really easy to do. You just click on this, hit tab, click on the top one. You can navigate towards your select, and it should be select similar normal. And what's going to do, it's going to select everything with the normal facing up. And now, since this is a almost like a square with well cubes, it'll perfectly select everything. So we're just going to hit P and hit separate by selection. We're going to navigate to the bottom and do the exact same thing. Click this, select similar normal, P selection. And now, since I would want these both to be concrete, I'll just select those two. Remember to get out of edit mode, and then Control J to join them, and now they're joined together. But let's say for the purpose here, you can do the same thing with all the sides. So I'll just show you quickly with one side. So let's just say select normal, do that, P selection. And you kind of get the gist of like if you want to do it for each side. Alright, so I'm just going to assign a concrete material on the top here. I'm just going to hit this, and let's look for the concrete. Do that. You can see it's really small. The materials I use are an amazing library called Materialic right here. And you can just summon materials in. It's very fast for prototyping and biz deving. And it also scales to like real world values, I think. Don't quote me on that. But as currently I'm like really small, so this building, the reason why I scaled the other one super high up is only like 2 meters, like the size of a person. It could be a little model here. Anyway, so we have those assigned, and we have one facing here. It could be like a different accent. So I'm just gonna select the rest of the body, and let's choose our window that we made that is, I think, currently embedded in. Oh no, it's on the side here. Ah, there it is. Okay, so we'll select this, select the rest of the body, go to edit, we're going to tessellate this, keep this default settings here, you can see everything's fine, hit OK, and now you can see it's added in. Now it's kind of funny because sometimes I'll like rotate it every now and then, but I have to play around with this more to understand if I can keep faces consistent. But I kind of like the design choices of it flipping around. This gives it more visual interest this way. And so we also have this like plain facing face here, and that was just the purpose to show you that I can add something else. So let's add maybe this decorative element here on the side of the building. So click on that, click on this, tessellate, hit OK, and now we have this really cool looking pattern on the side and a really neat building. So let's click on this, click on this. I also have something called top copy, so I'll click on this too, don't need that. Oh, I'll just control click everything here. Oh, what is this called something? Oh, it's up here, cube, right. Alright, so we're just going to move this off to the side here, and you can see this is a cool building we have. And the cool thing with the materials, if you have glass, you can see like it kind of like looks through. And so I like to use this as a way to create floors and to create more interesting elements, because you can like look inside and have some really cool looking shots here. So this is a little bit of an add-on here. You can stop at this point, but if you want to add floors and create more interesting elements, I'll click here and just select all of this bottom floor by hitting L, P, and selection. And this is just for my own purpose. I like to optimize things a bit for VizDev, because this is a lot of unnecessary faces if I want to just render something. So I'll just select all of them and type in spacebar to search for limited dissolve. You'll see here clean up limited dissolve, and now it just makes it into one big face, which is fine for our purpose. This is now separated. And so I'm going to go to the modifiers tab and I'll add an array. And with this array, I hope maybe you can see what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move it up the Z axis. So 0, take off relatives offset. I don't really like that too much. 0, and let's see here. It looks like our floor, it could be a little bit lower. I'm kind of just eyeballing this right now. That looks about good. And then we're going to add a solidify to give it some depth. So let's maybe its thickness is 0.1. Let's see what that looks like. That's too thick. Oops, 0.02, 0.03. We can also go up to 1, so it goes down instead of up. And I kind of like this thickness. So I don't know how many stories this is. So I'm just going to play around. 5, 10, 20, 20, 25. Oh, that's a 25-story building. And yeah, that's about it. Afterwards now, you can go in and, like, if you don't like these, I kind of like, personally for me, I kind of like the way these things jut out, because it looks like they build a foundation, just build concrete in afterwards. Because you can go in, once you have this base, and like add in support structures, or you can like, you don't even need to have this floor thing here. You can go in and actually rotate this flooring pattern, so it'll like create more of an interesting thing. I like it blocky, so I'll keep it this way. But if you wanted to rotate it, there's something called object offset, where if I click on here and let's just add an object for it to copy from, so I'll add in an empty plane axis, click on this, and let's click on the empty axis over here, and now it's going to offset it to this direction. You can see it's offsetting it based on our 20-story flight, so we'll have to bring this back. Well, bring this back to the origin here. It's kind of funny this way, but hopefully you can also envision how else to use this tool. So now we have the empty embedded in the building. I'll just rotate this by maybe 45 degrees, and you can kind of see it's like intersecting in a more interesting way, like that. And you can also just rotate it. Since that's 45, do another 45 degrees, you should be back to 90, but let's do something small like 30. And it's kind of getting a little too crazy. Okay, let's do 10. There we go. And you can see it's added like this really cool intricate flooring pattern. And I have cycles rendered, so this video might lag, but let me just do a small region here to show you what it looks like. And let's hide this tool here, and let's rotate it this way. And that's a pretty cool looking building, I think. Alright, I'm excited to see some buildings. Thank you.